Alright, boys, welcome back to another video. So today we're talking about how to make 10k a month with OFM. So obviously this is somewhat of a beginner friendly video. I won't be talking about outreach and like getting models, stuff like that. This is more for like, once you do have a model. So yeah, first of all, one of the things I think is quite important that a lot of beginners obviously do, which, obviously makes sense. You want to make your money as soon as possible, but you should not waste your time with models who don't realize the value you can bring, slash low quality models, like lazy models, models who just don't make content, or even if you try to help them as much as you can, just don't care enough to actually make good content, anything like that. Because a lot of time beginners will sign any model they possibly can, but then obviously that model can be low quality, which then leads to them, getting no results, and they waste like weeks or months, um, just working with a model who basically is lazy or whatever the case might be, and just wasting their time. So yeah, that's the first thing that I'd recommend people to avoid. Like I say, obviously don't try to only get the perfect 10 out of 10 best model out there straight away. If she's an average model, it's fine, but at least hardworking or somewhat hardworking is very important. So yeah, next thing is don't overthink simple things and don't try to do everything by yourself. This is one of the main mistakes that beginners also make. Is first of all, obviously overthinking. Like, of course, you need to think about what marketing will do, all that stuff. But don't overthink simple things like, oh, is this bio good enough for this and that, whatever. Just little things like that. These things don't really matter as long as your marketing is good. Whatever your bio looks like, even if it's not the best bio out there, it'll still bring subscribers. You can focus on, or you can fix these little mistakes later on once you actually get in traffic. Um, and yeah, not do anything by yourself. Obviously, like actually building a team is very important. To get to 10k a month, you don't really need a big team. Like I put here, in the big picture, 10k a month is nothing. You don't need to do 100 different traffic sources to get to 10k, which is another thing that people do, is they try to basically do everything straight away. They try to do Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, Threads, basically every fucking platform out there that you can do for marketing. They try to do it straight away, by themselves as well, not without a team. And that's where people start making mistakes, or they forget to do like posting on a certain platform, and then that's where you sort of lose yourself and forget what you're meant to be doing, stuff like that, and then just basically get stuck and make no money. Um, so yeah. Next thing is to find one platform you know how it works or think you'll do well with, and focus on mastering that. So pretty much like I put here, scale with VAs as soon as you feel you've mastered that platform. Don't try to do too many things all by yourself. So pretty much, let's say you think or you do know how marketing on Instagram Reels works, and you do that. Even if you do feel like you know how it works, you should not try to get VAs on it until you get results yourself, right? So let's say you start with 10 accounts all by yourself for a model, and it's doing well. You found a good niche, all that stuff. The content's good. Um, you know, Once you actually understand how Instagram works, like what are the reasons you're going viral, how to warm up the account, what matters and what doesn't matter, like when it comes to logging into the account, posting, all that stuff. Once you know all of these things, that's when you should then look for VAs, train them, and scale, and basically hire them to manage a bunch of accounts for you and scale that way. But until you're at that stage, you should be doing it yourself and just focus on improving and learning how to do the marketing on that platform. Um, and yeah, and with that, obviously, with the actual marketing, and this goes for literally any platform, like not just IG, but niches, the content, marketing plan, etc. This is one thing that you do need to plan out and think about, before you do sort of do your marketing fully. So obviously niches, this is something that you should be testing all the time. The way we sort of do it is like we'll have like, let's say we start with 5 accounts. We'll have all 5 accounts in a different niche. Like mainly like bod niches, or like emo, goth girl, gamer girl, whatever. Um, and then basically, we'll have different content for each of those niches, and then whichever one works the best. Let's say 3 of those niches work good, the other 2 don't. We'll then scale with more accounts with those 3 niches, and then look for more niches again later on as well. So yeah, obviously testing niche is very important. This is one thing that beginners also don't really tend to think about too much, which I think is pretty important that you should be doing. Um, Obviously, just check, like, actually testing the niches, making sure you're doing the right things for that. But yeah, and then with content, you need to be testing out content as well, like for IG, or for Reddit, or for literally anything. Once again, if you think the content isn't good enough or it's not performing well, there's obviously some sort of problem. If the niche maybe isn't working well, or maybe the content isn't working well. So make sure, whenever you're planning out a niche and with the content, like if you've gotten content for the model to recreate, then obviously you want to make sure that the content is as similar quality to the original as possible, like high quality phone or camera. Background's nice, the clothing is good. Everything is high quality basically in that video. And yeah, and then yeah, overall, pretty much like obviously the main thing is like try not to do too many things yourself. Um, for example, like I said, if you're doing Instagram, focus on that, and then scale with VAs once you've figured out the niches that will work good, and all of that stuff. And once you've sort of got that marketing plan in place and all of that is going well, obviously for the actual OF page, chatting is where most of the money is made. So you should spend a lot of time building a good sales team. So if you have no experience at all with chatting, obviously I think it is good, even though I don't recommend doing it for too long. I think it is good to do some sort of chatting by yourself for a bit, to sort of obviously learn how it works. But as for chatting itself, I think one of the easiest ways to sort of build a good team is to hire a chatting agency at first, right? So hire a chatting agency that takes a percentage, like 15, 20%, whatever. Um, and then once that chatting agency, or like if you find a good chatting agency that's actually making you money, what you should then do is you learn yourself from them, like what are the tactics they're using, like why are they, actually getting sales, right? And then with that, you should then hire your own chatters and train them based off what your chatting agency is doing. So obviously with simple stuff like Wi-Fi speed tests, keyboard speed tests, stuff like that, to make sure the chat is actually good enough and quick enough to handle chatting to a lot of people. But then as for the actual training, what you should do is like I said, use that chatting agency's information to train your own, and then you can put them on a trial for like a week or two, see how they perform. If you think they have potential, obviously just keep helping them, telling them what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right. Um, if not, then obviously move on to the next. But yeah, I feel like this sounds very simple, but it really is. To get to 10K a month, it is really simple. Um, you know, there's not much involved when it comes to scaling. Like it is overall very simple, but like I said, I think it's mainly just mistakes that people make, such as trying to do things themselves and wasting too much time on models that don't really care about it. But once you fix these little mistakes and just actually focus on mastering one thing, plus good chatting, you will be on 10K a month. It is very easy to get to 10K a month. Once it gets to higher numbers, that's obviously when more scaling is involved. But the 10K a month, you could do most of it yourself, just with a small team. But yeah, if you guys want more information or want more help, obviously drop me on Telegram if you want. I've also got a private group which will be in the description. So if you guys want, check that out. And yeah, see you guys later.